Ready?
Yes. Start that for you.
The wrong glasses. Everybody.
Well, quorum, we might as well start the meeting. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody with a new term. I guess I'm the chairman, I don't know how to get here, but I mean. And I heard of Bob's position, which the first thing I want to say, I want to thank Bob for all his leadership and everything that he shows for the years that I was here, at least, and probably way before that. So I would like to send my appreciation and thanks to him. Well, let's start with the roll call. With Chikakis, I'm here. Boggs. Here. Harsh. Here. Carey.
Present.
Holland. Yapley.
Present.
Smith.
Present.
Dagano. And Thomas. Yep.
All right.
Next, we should start with the appointment of the board of the oath. Somebody wants to administer the oath?
I was gonna say adoption agenda would be next.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
You wanna move I would propose just one change, which is I1 discussion only for payment of the bills. It should be possible action. That way we can pay the bills when we come to it if we all agree or majority agrees, I suppose.
Okay.
Otherwise, I move it, agenda as amended.
So Ryan, you want to say review of bills or what?
Possible action.
Possible action.
Bills.
Put them as
review.
possible action. Instead of- I'll make the motion. Adopt the agenda.
Want a second motion?
I support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? We don't have any communications to the Downtown Development Authority at this point, so yeah, going to your next item.
Oh, actually,
Do you have something?
we did from, I think this went to the, and I don't know if the email is working properly, so did you receive from Murphy Harrington, our Parks Director? Did you receive any?
I don't believe
No.
so.
Okay, so this, she was thanking us, I thought I brought it, for the contribution to the Parks Department. I think it was in here, but anyways, I will make sure.
Yes, I can read it here just so it's on the record. Sent to the DDA distribution list on March 4th. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your consideration and generosity in providing $50,000 to put towards the construction of Township Hall Park playground in 2025. She wanted to confirm that the funds were available beginning April 1st, 2025. And she said thank you again. So
Did she send it to the?
it went to the DDA mailing list, but
We
which
were having
had,
trouble with that mailing.
that was
Apparently we
before, during the time frame of technical issues with the mailing list. So I
Is
can send it
everyone
again.
now getting?
It appears so, right, you're getting, okay, good. As far as I'm aware of, I think everybody is getting, aware of the issues.
Well, I don't know, that's, we'll send out another test
Okay.
or email, and then if everybody could reply, just
Sure.
that you've received
Well,
it.
if that was sent to the DDA email,
Yes, but
why wasn't received?
What
It
was the date?
should,
Try and test another one sometime and see what happens.
okay, yeah,
Okay.
I'll send another test email a little bit later today.
Let's move on.
All right, next up would be swearing in of the new DDA members. So I invite Clerk Flintoff, she holds the oath book, but also Supervisor Carey informed me yesterday that she's able to administer those, so whoever would like to proceed with it,
No, go ahead.
either one.
Okay, yes, and then when Jay and Jen are here, I can do that.
that's great.
That's great. Hey, everybody, Jessica Flintoff, Township Clerk. Thank you for serving. If you're able, if you could please stand.
Be everyone or just those
No,
three?
Those who are newly appointed or newly reappointed.
Okay.
No, you're.
Yeah,
you have another
I'm not.
year.
Three of us are not, the four of them.
Okay, thank you. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of the Downtown Development Authority in and for the Township of Scio, the County of Washtenaw, and State of Michigan, according to the best of my ability. Great, thank you so much. And I'll ask each of you to please sign.
Well, it's supposed to have been done.
You'd be so kind to sign your name and then print your name right next to it.
Sign
Sign,
here.
yep, and then print it right next to it. Watch.
Yep. Thank you.
So here, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Flintoff.
Alex, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Welcome, Alex. Thank you. Thank you. Back everybody.
Moving to the next item, approval of minutes. You all have the minutes presented by the
Public comment.
public comment, not yet. It's approval of minutes first.
Okay.
No.
Are you gonna do
He's
backwards?
got here.
That's the agenda that I got,
Wait a minute. Okay, there's two different agendas then.
obviously.
I may have, when I was transposing it into Granicus, I may have transposed the order as possible.
Can I have a copy of yours then?
Yeah.
Yeah, which one are we using so that I have the correct minutes?
I would use Gus's, just rely.
Well, could I have a copy then?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll just go make
Yeah.
it. Anybody else need a copy?
no,
I haven't.
I have it.
That's what Gus did.
Yep.
That's what Gus did, yeah.
Okay, I'll be ready.
No, I got
He
one.
has another one here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would move the minutes as presented.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Motion passed.
Motion carries. Public participation. Have anybody?
Hello.
Hello?
Anyone?
Hi, I'm Jan Culbertson. I'm Planning Commission Chair, and I'm here because Scio Township was awarded a SEMCOG grant of $40,000, and the trustees put in another $10,000 to do a complete streets corridor study of Jackson Road. And so we retained OHM, and they've done sort of a existing conditions assessment. And now we're going out with sort of the first stage of a community survey. And the intent of the survey is to get employees, people who work, people who live around, people who shop all along Jackson Road. So I have some survey information, and I will send you an email. I couldn't find the DDA distribution list on the website, so I'll get that and then maybe I just missed it. So I will email you some information that if you could share with your neighbors, with your colleagues, if you own a business. We're really after a broad base of information. Then the other thing, and I think Jillian, you're gonna work on this too. When we were doing our site visit along Jackson Road, we discovered someone in the intersection.
Yeah. That's another correspondence that came in. I have a
Yeah.
couple of them that should be. included in
And,
the packet.
and evidently, there is no one who is, taking care of, the maintenance of the crosswalks, along Jackson Road. So that was a little startling for me and how important, safety is. And here's a woman in a walker who had gotten off the bus and because the crosswalk was snow covered, was in the actual turning lane of, going into Parkland Plaza. So Jackson Road, some of the goals we're looking at are how to improve connectivity, make it, the planning commission is also very interested in hopefully simplifying some zoning, really looking at it to be a more dynamic, connected corridor that would be, a live, work, play kind of corridor. So thank you. And hopefully this framework will give us some ideas where the township and the DDA can really partner on some projects. And we can kind of be, with a framework that we all have input to and so forth. We can, plan, over the next 10 years, some improvements along the corridor. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Jan,
Adrian,
got anything for us?
anybody else?
Invited here, I wasn't.
Okay.
I'm sure. I'm supposed to be doing.
I don't know.
Well, and I thought we had talked about this in our meetings, but, so we have, the DDA had approved, fire inspection fees
Mhm.
from the budget
Mhm.
and, 100,000, I think.
Yeah.
And yes, we have the money, but there has to be a plan. And because it's not just a cut and dry, here's $100,000, who does that go to and whatnot, so. Chief Sears, I think we talked about it a little bit, and there was an email from
Mhm.
Terry
Mhm.
regarding.
Should we take that under guess or should we go to the, on the old business?
I think,
I mean,
Discussion topics.
right, on, since the chief is over here, maybe he can,
Just going back to the minutes from the last meeting, we had some discussion about it and there was some disagreement about how it should be handled, so it's
Right.
not actually in the
Right. We're gonna-
adopted budget.
I dug in, if you wanna
Yes.
talk about that now, I asked the questions about that and, I had a discussion with Ryan and, we found out that we appropriated $100,000 for the inspections. And, what the township, I think, collects is about not short of 90,000, so I guess the 100,000, am I right, Ryan? Covers
correct. I guess
Okay.
in just a minute.
87,000, something like this.
Maybe when we get to your chair's report, we could talk about it for just a couple of minutes. I think we can come up with a quick solution. There's just one person online. I was gonna let speak real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can move on to that, so. All right, hi Pam, sorry about that. There you go, you should be able to. speak.
Thank you, Pam Boyd.
Hi, Pam.
Linda, I have a question about 300 North Zeeb. A couple weeks ago, Rob Pattinson informed me that 300 North Zeeb was experiencing some more break-ins. Can you give a brief update on 300 North Zeeb and the issues? And I'm so sorry that's happened. I appreciate all of what you guys are doing with 300 North Zeeb. I really do. I really think that it's going to be a very nice place once it's all done, but would be interested in knowing about the break-ins. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
I'm just gonna say, I don't have any involvement with 300 North Eve. But to the extent that the ownership does want to report on that, I think they should, but to the extent that they don't want to, I don't think this is the forum to talk about it personally.
I think that's a
public.
private conversation.
I agree.
Pam. I'd be happy to have that conversation. If you'd like to contact me by email, I'll try and make an appointment to do so.
Thank you, Linda. I'll do that. But I do think that the good and the bad should be addressed to a certain degree. And if you want to keep certain things private, I'm good with that. But I do think that it is in the DDA, and the DDA needs to. Um, did all the members know that there was a problem there?
It's private property. I don't
It-
think it's the DDA's
No.
right or responsibility to know what's going on private property. Respectfully.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, ma'am. All right, seeing none else,
Thank you, Ryan.
comments now closed.
Moving on. How many guests? We're done. DDA chairs, I don't have any report. Since I'm new, everything started, I'm working with Jillian and Ryan and best as I can to on many things to come. Right now, I don't have any report as far as that goes. I have some ideas of what to do and a couple of things to do on the boulevard, but I'll bring it out under new business, so. Let's move on to the township supervisor report.
Well, welcome, everyone. I look forward to working with you. Yeah, this has been an interesting couple of months for all of us. Linda, I do have to say, 300 North Sea looks really great. You're putting in more trees and it's just looking how it was for for a long time when it was, what was it? The UMISH or whatever, and where it's come in such a short period of time. Looks really great. Thank you. So there are a couple of correspondences that have come through, and I don't know if you've received them, but just in case, we'll go over them. The DDA Clerk Flintoff had a request to the DDA. This was on December 9th or 8th. To pay for the maintenance of the boulevard. No, they
Did
didn't
not
come through
receive it.
either. Okay, anyways, I have an extra copy if everybody wants to read it. Wow, this is really.
I don't believe that any of the group emails came through until after March 5. Anything that was sent prior to that.
I would agree with that.
That is bizarre. I had Christy go in the back end and make sure everybody's email addresses were
You
there.
sent through one email that indicated there had been a problem. That's the only email I've received.
Okay, well, I will go back to December and see what else is there, and then we can include it for everybody to get up to date. Okay, what else was there? Planning Commissioner Chair, Jan Culbertson, you just spoke during public comment, so I did receive the email, and a photo of the woman. I did drive by, and yes, the crossings were covered in snow. We're also getting complaints about the bridge maintenance. There's snow covered. We sent our building department maintenance person, Kevin, last year, along with it was Rich in the utility truck kind of shadowing him as he was shoveling, and somebody came off the expressway and rear-ended our utility truck. So that kind of put a kibosh on us taking care of that out of the safety of our employees. So if the DDA, we could figure something out if we hire, well, we're being requested to maintain the boulevard, so maybe if they're doing both lawn care, they can also do snow, and they can do the sidewalks and whatnot that need to be done. The sidewalks in front of businesses are supposed to take care of their own, and we do have a code enforcement officer now, and he will be on that. Oh, the signs along Jackson Road, Keith Deswan, is that how you say? Deswan. He's been on taking care of the signs. That $9.99 haircut, yeah, he's having a fun time with that. But
It just cost me $10.
yeah, anyways, trying to think, also, we talked about when we were doing the budget and, Treasurer Yapel, could you please pull up the budget that the board has adopted for the DDA? There was some things that they have removed. So it is the township board, we do create our budget, we give it to the township board for approval, and any amendments that we have to provide it to the board because it is the board that approves those or rejects. So we talked about the 94 bridge or another pedestrian bridge over 94. A study, having money put aside for the study, and we did do a study with OHM. And I sent this to everybody and it probably didn't go through, did it?
No.
Okay, so this is from June 8th, 2023. It is the technical memorandum Z-Road non-motorized shared use path study. So this is something that we need to look at for the next, I guess, next meeting. It's a little lengthy, but it may answer some of our questions or give us direction on where to go.
Can we request that you resend that to the group directly, or you can send it to me and I can forward it?
I'm gonna do both, just in case, so we can make sure that it's getting to everybody.
Thank you.
All right, so,
But if you send it to the group and we each respond, that way they know that we got it,
and if
just
I don't hear
respond,
from
got
you, then I'll know.
okay?
Okay, yeah, okay, so there's this one.
Because we do get Linda stuff, so I don't wanna get, confused.
Yeah,
I send it on my private email.
okay.
So,
I did contact MDOT and also the road commission regarding that bridge. MDOT basically said it's the local government that is responsible for it, even though it's MDOT property. And Adam Late from, he's the director of operations at WCRC, said that he will, they don't do sidewalks, they don't do maintenance, but when the trucks are plowing, he'll make sure that the trucks go, they plow the other way from the sidewalk, and that should help. But now that we're into spring, we don't really have to be concerned about it, but we will have to keep it on our radar for next year. You wanna see that?
Do we want to keep this, this is probably correspondence we want to keep for next November to remind the road commission that we want them to do that.
yes,
We want to put that in the DDA. Does that belong in roads advisory committee? Does that belong with the supervisor's office?
I think we, both, or all three.
all three of us, I think we need a copy of that to remind them.
Okay, I'll
Remind
send a
us.
copy of that too.
Thank you. And then perhaps we can send a group letter to Washtenaw County Road Commission next November, reminding them about the letter.
Yeah. That's a good idea. And the board, so we had approved our budget the last meeting, and when it came to the DDA, the board was talking about different things, and one of the things that they're looking at and they're concerned about is the amount of capture that the DDA collects, because it ends up being more than what we collect for our general fund as a general law township. So just to give you a heads up, that may be reduced. And also,
Might be reduced what we collect, DDA collects or what the township collects? What is it?
well, the capture is 50%
Right.
for all parcels within the DDA.
Mhm.
And them looking at the budget and talking about it, you can go back and watch that portion. I don't know where it would be in the meeting, but anyways, they're saying we're collecting too much.
Who's we,
So-
DDA or the township?
Well, the township, even the township collects it.
I understand, but you said we collecting too much. Who's collecting too much?
The
DDA or
capture.
the township?
It's
Capture.
actually kind of one and the same. But the money goes into the DDA funds.
Okay,
And the board sets the capture amount, and at one time, they set it at 50%.
Mhm.
So they were talking about reducing that. That's all I know at this point.
do what?
I don't know, that's all I know.
So if they reduced it, doesn't seem to me like they would reduce it. Unless they want to take the amount by which it's reduced.
Which legally, let me back up and say a couple of things. One is, we could reduce the board, not the DDA. The board could reduce the capture percentage. What would happen in that case is a couple of things. One is, if there was a township millage, for example, the operating millage or the land preservation millage or the bus millage, that money, if the capture was reduced by any amount, that money would go back to the township millage fund. We also capture from the county, so in that case, the money would, instead of going to the DDA, would go to the appropriate county millage fund. The delta between, or the difference between what the DDA captured last year and what the township general operating capture was. The township's general operating was just over $1.3 million in tax revenue. The DDA had just over $2 million in tax revenue. So the DDA is receiving, what Supervisor Carey was saying, $700,000 approximately more than what the township's operating millage is receiving. The township does receive money for other things like land preservation, the bus, the water and sewer customers pay into the water and sewer funds. But there is a question because of the fact that we started this budget meeting on March 3rd, and I did print the document, I'll go get in a minute, with a $900,000 deficit in our general fund. So we had expenses exceeding revenue by $900,000.
We being the township.
The township, but part of that is we just approved a 1.6 million geothermal HVAC system.
So it sounds like just that portion of it, the township is spending more money than they have.
Well-
At least this year.
Well, in the budget, we have it
In the budget,
fund
we have
balance.
So they
additional.
budgeted, they had a negative budget.
But
I think it's just something to be aware of. It will certainly come back up for discussion at some point in the future, and I think it'd be best to discuss it with both groups collectively and explain the pros and cons of why if it goes away from the DDA, how and when it will impact the township and other taxing authorities.
So there's a $700,000 difference,
Yes,
and then the township wants to take that away from the DDA, basically? Is that what it look, is that what the bottom line is?
reduce it possibly, potentially.
Reduce it to what?
I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't heard the proposal floated yet.
Um,
I think it makes sense to wait and talk about it when it comes up.
Okay, well, I'm new to this, so is that a percentage, is that a, I mean, the township can do whatever, they can reduce the millage to whatever they want to, does it, is that on the bylaws, does it have to be approved, does it, I mean.
Just the
how
capture.
Exactly, before I go, before we dig into it, how does exactly that work?
Well,
I agree.
yeah, so it would just be reducing the capture. They can't reduce the millage. It's a little, which brings another issue. The DDA had hired an attorney a while ago and that attorney is, I don't know. But I think that it would be best that the DDA hire an attorney with municipal background. Because there's a lot of questions that are coming up that are not answered and our township attorney is not going to answer DDA.
No, we can,
Yeah,
you
but,
know,
but,
well, I asked the question, that's not confusing, I asked the question, can the township do this or not?
well, this is
You
what
know,
we need to
okay.
have an
Okay,
attorney
well,
look
that
at.
would be one of the questions for the attorney wants that we hire him, because, sounds like, so like the township is spending money they don't have, and then they wanna take it away from the DDA, because because the DDA has the money, so, is that kosher, is that part of the deal? I don't know, is that on the bylaws? I don't know, okay, that's something that needs to be looked upon, like you said. Okay, so we have one of those things that when we hire an attorney that we agreed on, that's one of those things that he's gonna look into it, among other things.
We do have an attorney. The attorney that we have was hired to review the question of an insurance policy, sort of an officers and directors policy for the DDA, separate of Scio Township, because it was unclear whether the DDA board was covered for liability with the bus shelters.
Mhm.
Specifically, how much municipal experience that particular attorney has, I don't know, but they do work with other DDAs. I can certainly connect you
Well,
with
we
that,
can
but
do that, but
we don't have the question yet, as to.
correct. I was told that I should look for an attorney on the last meeting. I was told that I should look for an attorney that can extend the life of the DDA and also extend the DDA if possible to do a study. I found an attorney, from Dr. McGusset that charges $500 an hour. That says, what, that's my gig. I do DDAs all day long. His name is Sam Kilberg. So if we want to hire him, when we get down to that extended DDA number 9 item, we can hire him, or we can go to If Linda says the attorney they hired before, which I don't know, if that's a guy who can answer the questions, then, you know, why recreate the will? Maybe we should stick with it, with that attorney, but this attorney here, I asked him specifically, he says, this is what I do. So
Linda,
there's, you know,
the attorney that you are referring to is Sweeney, was it Sweeney? The last name Sweeney?
Ryan
Is that-
Ryan
Ryan
Sweeney
Sweeney?
from Kramer Minot Sweeney.
yeah, I don't know how much,
believe
if
so.
it's Ryan, I know Ryan very well, not for years, so I don't know how much.
He was brought in specifically to answer the question about the insurance and then the bus. And not to extend the life of the DDA. That wasn't anticipated at that point, and that was a year ago.
Well, there's also the board was asking questions about or requesting, no, it was a discussion. That 25 or most of the DDA, most of for the sheriff serves mostly in the DDA, and if the DDA could pay for a portion of the sheriff contract. And I questioned that because that's where we need somebody to, I've read through the statute, and there's certain things that the DDA can and cannot spend money on. But we need an attorney to look at all of that. We just want to
Okay.
make sure that, you know, where our money.
So,
is.
so we can put all the questions together and ask the attorney. So we're not gonna discuss under your report,
Okay,
those issues, you know, give us, if you can give us the rest of your report, I would,
well, this is
Super.
all part of the report.
yeah,
because
good.
it's-
Yeah, I like to put them all together and if
Sure.
we hire an attorney or we use the same attorney, then we give it all to them and move on,
Okay.
okay?
And also the question of, is the DDA necessary had come up in that conversation, and that's, about it. It's, and I'm informing you to let you know what the discussion was at the board table.
Can you tell us which meeting that was?
It was
Which
the
date?
very last meeting, March. Well, wait a minute, March 11th, we approved. March 11th or February 25th, because we've had many board meetings regarding the budget, so.
March
Or
3rd.
March 3rd.
Discussed as well.
Yes, that's right. That was a special meeting for the budget.
I'll grab this off the printer when we.
Thank you.
Meetings, everybody can have.
So
it
those minutes have been
Approved.
approved and they'd be on the website, so we could parse it through the minutes rather than trying to go through the
Absolutely.
whole
Yeah,
video.
But you may want to,
Once we identify which meeting, I would go to that meeting, yeah.
yeah, and that portion of the meeting, because the minutes,
Or brief.
there's conversations that are they're all condensed into the minutes, so it's not the. Yeah, and I think at this point, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thanks for your report. Appreciate it. Move on to the landscape committee report. I guess I'm in, part of that. I asked a couple of people to give me a price on the boulevard. And before I told them to give me a specific price per cut, per this, per that, otherwise, what is the cost for each cut? Because we don't know how many cuts. Last year we had 2 per month. Or normally it's 13 per season. So should we do it every other week or 2 per month? Difference is 1 cut. Some people say, one person said it was okay, the other person says that you might need more cuts because springtime, the grass grows faster. I also asked him for a cleanup, summer, fall cleanup, to give us a price of that if we want to do it. And also fertilizing and weed control, so, and mulch. So we all need to agree what we want to do with it. Do we want to do all the above or not, or half of them? What is it? I know we need to cut. Should we cut every other week? Should we cut it twice a month?
Cut every other week. For me, that's the price difference that would make my decision, right?
Well, it's an additional cut, so it's gonna be,
I don't know what the cost of any of it is,
I
so.
don't either.
Yeah,
I'm getting,
so
I'm getting.
I would quote it as pick a plan and then have an alternate and have a couple different bids so we could compare them. Be my
I will have,
suggestion.
I will send you those bits as soon as I get them. I should get them sometime this week, so I'll just send them to you. Because we probably don't wanna wait till next meeting on May, you know, to do that. So I'll send them to you. You guys tell me. He's, you know, so as for the cuts, how about fertilizing? Do we need to fertilize?
I would say yes. I agree, but I also have a business that's right off the boulevard.
How many times?
Does fertilize include fertilizing the new plantings?
I didn't tell him that.
I mean, there's grass fertilization and then there's, tree plug fertilization. The new plantings probably should be fertilized because the soil in that boulevard is really poor.
Really far. I agree.
Put them in new last year. We kept them wet, but they don't
Okay,
have
I
a lot of,
agree.
go.
Trees.
They'll do better if they are fertilized. That could be a separate company. It could be the same company. Weed control, we did have a fairly significant Canada thistle infestation and I think Japanese knotweed infestation in a couple of our landscaped wood chipped areas that have been completely redone last year, and they were much better. I don't know if we want to maintain those areas by spraying. We probably do want to spray the wood chips, so we don't end up with knee-high weeds in there. How many times? Let's start with once and see how it looks.
So we should,
As needed. I don't think they need to treat everything. I think they can say spot treat with herbicide.
would you like, should we do weed control at least once throughout the boulevard?
Yes, but I don't think they need to spray things. The question is, are you putting down a pre-emergent herbicide or are you spraying stuff that's already up and killing it?
I'm probably gonna spray.
So tell them spot treat.
You know, if I can get a friend of mine to do that, the guy that, Green Guys Alone, I believe he's the, I don't know if you know Todd Geske, he's the, Todd? He's the scorekeeper of the basketball games, right? Todd, and he did all the country clubs and the golf courses in the area, and then he started his own company. He's very inexpensive, he's one of the best. I mean, literally the best in the business, bar none. The problem is he doesn't want any business. He's up to his neck. And I wonder if I can beg the guy to come down to the boulevard. He'll do it in once or twice, what everybody else does it 6 times. He's a heck of a lot cheaper than anybody else.
Isn't that something we could put into the bids for
He's,
these companies?
So if he can, I'll ask him when we get out of here today to see if he wants to do it. I doubt it, but it's a 4-mile boulevard, so. Anyway, so we need fertilizing, weed control. We need to cut it. Are we gonna water anything? The old stuff, the trees, it doesn't seem like they need it. It's been the new stuff. We don't have any new stuff. The new stuff that we did last year, the trees, they're doing well. And,
Unless it gets extremely dry this summer, they should.
Yeah. anything else we should do? I should tell them, would we mulch?
Well, so I was.
Should we mulch the trees? They suggested to mulch the trees.
When was the last time we put wood chips? We did
Don't know.
wood chips new with all of the new islands that were done last year, but then the existing islands, did they wood chip the existing islands we didn't change or did they not last year? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
Yes, it would be a good idea to put a band of wood chips around the new trees that were planted. But I would, caution that it needs to be done correctly, not just drowning the trees in wood chips.
Yeah, having foot deep mound around
Yeah.
the tree doesn't do anything good for water.
We want a donut of wood chips. We don't want a mound around the truck.
But if we hire a company, do you want to tell them what's the correct way or what do we expect? Because I'm pretty sure they're gonna want to
You can
know.
ask them for a diagram of what they do typically. A lot of them will
Okay.
just draw you something, that's fine. Or we can
Take
draw
a
that.
photo of what they did in the past.
Okay, move on.
I guess the
I would-
quick question on that, do you want to have, our next meeting is May 10th
Too late.
12.
or May 12th, wrong day.
I'm gonna send an email with that as soon as I get the bids and we need to make.
Do we want to approve a not to exceed number and then we've got something that we can work with?
I was looking at the last one that we had. Before you go to that, it says, it was mowing, it was, a bunch of mowing, the grass cleanup, fall cleanup, with KBK, and it was, I didn't see any, it was fertilizing once and weed control, I believe, twice. That's That's what we had before, so, at the time, it was, the contract was for, I could find, that was 80-some thousand, wasn't it, or 100,000, does anybody have it?
Yeah, I think it's something to tell you.
I think I do somewhere.
We've got $150,000 budget for landscaping.
I,
Right.
I'll find that to be,
40 minutes.
I'll find that to be way more than enough personally without knowing.
And did you pull up our,
I was gonna pull up the KB, the previous KB.
the budget?
Oh,
Make sure that it.
Here's the last one from KVK Landscaping. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
I have the changes in bids. I'll grab it off the.
108.
no, this is,
The approved.
I have those. Those are the job that we told them to do.
Oh,
Is the, I'll show you, Jeff, I mean, Tim.
I can pull up.
Yeah, because the adopted budget should be. With all the changes. Just to. Bring to everybody's awareness, we have to follow the Open Meetings Act, so we cannot make decisions unless we're in a board meeting. So we can't make decisions and approve something through email.
We can approve a not to exceed landscaping amount to be spent in the month and then have someone assign a contract to it if they're on the landscaping committee. If it's in the budget and an amount has been approved by voice vote at a meeting, saying that the spring, summer amount shall not exceed.
And then go out for bid.
And then authorize the landscape committee to review the bids and accept.
You know, that's a good point. Who's on the landscape committee?
Gus and Jennifer.
Okay. And, we have, Alex is a new person, a new member, Alex Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so we may not know each other, and I'm kind of new to this as well, so I'm learning. And Gus, Tim Boggs, this is Ryan Maple, he's our treasurer, Linda Smith and Jeff Harshy, and then we have two other members. So the landscape committee has Gus
Is
and
that what he wants?
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
For Tankano, who's not here today.
Okay, in the marketing committee,
Is Jennifer, and I believe in, and Jennifer.
Yeah, I think it's Jennifer.
It's just Jennifer, okay, just Jennifer, okay. And Jennifer is our treasurer as well,
Yes.
right? Okay.
I think the marketing committee also used to include Bob Stites.
Yes.
So there would be an opening.
Do
It either goes to the person that's absent or the new person.
Yeah.
But the point on the table is that our May 12th meeting is too late to adopt a landscape contract for mowing in the boulevard.
We do have a budget though. If it's a way under the budget, can we go with it?
We need to make a motion, I believe, that authorizes the landscape committee to choose a quote and, make sure that it stays within.
Does
the
anybody
budget.
want to make a motion?
We need to have an amount that we can authorize you up to. And I think that's what you were looking for with how much we're paying. Did you find that, Tim, something we were paying last year?
No, I saw the other thing, but there was a budget, and I think Ryan printed it out. I
Yeah,
think I just had it here. It was
Ryan, it's
last
still
year's.
So what if we made
just
a,
getting to the DDA page.
what if we made a
I can go-
motion that we could have, that you could authorize the landscape committee to enter into phase one of what might be a 2-phase or 3-phase process? You're authorized to start with a 50 grand contract that will
Just started.
get us started.
The,
Does that make sense?
I believe the KBK contract was for just under 50,000. But I don't know how old this is.
What was the scope on that? Does it
The
say?
scope was, he will cut the grass 12 times a year for $1,000. He fertilized for $2,000 3 times a year. Spring cleanup was $2,800 one time fall cleanup, 2,000. Pesticide application, $950 3 times. Planting and maintenance of the beds, $55 an hour, 100 hours, so 100 trees, whatever. Dead tree removal, tree planting, would have none of that. Shred, mulch was $55 a yard, which is double that now. And mulch is $55, which is again double that now. I think I was paying $65-70 last year, so. So he was, and this is what I'm gonna go buy this time as well. In other words, 12 times a year, cutting it, fertilizing, 3 times, he's got 3 times fertilizing, we're gonna fertilize twice.
Match that scope, basically.
Yeah,
I think matching the scope makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Gus, what was he charging for mowing?
He would charge for my $1,000 a cut.
Correct, and his most recent invoice that he gave to the township last August was $1,000 every single week.
Every
In
single
the
week.
month of August.
Yeah,
Weed control in beds was $950, billed on August fifth.
right.
Jackson Plaza mowing, I don't know.
He was,
there, but that was
He
$650.
mowed the entrance
Oh.
around the sign, which is
yeah.
a piece of property, but no one's still sure who owns it.
Yes, I remember, yeah.
I agree. But he was way, anyways, he was way
Well,
overcharged.
so are we, yes, but are we going to ask that that piece be mown? Again,
I don't know, you tell me.
that was a one-time mowing because it had.
That's where the
literally gotten
sign-
This high,
That's where the sign is,
yes,
on the Jackson Plaza entrance, where the Michigan sign
the
is.
Parkland Plaza.
Parkland Plaza,
Yes.
Michigan, yeah, okay. So do you wanna, I
I-
think we should cut it. It's part of the
It gets-
boulevard, we should cut it.
It gets pretty unsightly. There's a sort of a disagreement about whether that parcel is actually owned by the Washtenaw County Road Commission or by the township, and it's never really been fully fleshed
Linda,
out.
it's so small, let's not argue about it. They'll throw that in and
All
we'll.
right, I just want to make sure we put it in,
No,
so.
we'll cut it, we'll cut it.
But how, every mowing or a couple? I don't
I
know.
would tell them every morning, you know why? Because they're not gonna charge anymore. Trust me, they're not gonna charge any more than that.
I used to pay $55 a mowing for
He's
it.
not gonna charge $55 to go there. He's gonna do that with the boulevard. You know, he's gonna do 4 Mile Boulevard. He's not gonna charge for 10 square feet.
So Jeff put together a motion which has now been batted about, that loosely sounds like the DDA board authorizes the DDA landscaping committee to review and accept a bid for spring, summer maintenance of the boulevard, including fertilizer, mulch, herbicide, mowing, and cleanup.
And, well, here's a good question. I drove the boulevard a couple, 3 times. Doesn't need that much cleanup anymore like it did when the bushes were there. It's pretty,
It's pretty good.
probably 2 hours, 3 hours, somebody can really pick up with a poker, you can pick up all the empty
Also-
bags.
So that's something I was gonna talk about during new business, because we usually have a spring cleanup day.
We do. We do. So right now, from what I see, you know, you can hire a person out there and go there, and have a day's work and he pick everything up because there's not,
I don't know if you're gonna find a mowing company that'll do that for you. It's probably an independent job.
I called Rossi and the last guy that did the trees and the both of them have no problem with it.
Great. Okay, so
Okay.
can we need to wait for Ryan to come back.
Can we put a budget on it, a number on it? What is the number you put
It
on it?
needs to be about 50 now. I mean, if that one's
Well, it's
old,
gotta-
it's
it's gotta-
gotta be,
It's gotta be about 50. If I mean, I got several buildings up and down here, nobody will do it for that.
I just tossed out a number. That was the number you mentioned on that one. I'm not,
Yeah,
I don't know what the right number is.
how about if we go to like 70,000? Maximum,
I think we're gonna do, I'm fine with 70, but I think it makes sense to get competitively bid.
we are getting bids.
Okay.
But this would allow them to adopt the bid in between this meeting and the May 12th
Totally,
meeting.
totally in
Yes.
favor of that. Understood, and I'm in favor of that. Yep.
So there's a motion from Jeff,
Not to exceed $70,000.
7,000, second,
second,
But,
Do we need to
Like
wait
Jeff?
for Ryan?
yeah, we do.
yeah, second by Tim.
And do you have the complete motion? Could you read that out loud, please?
The motion, as I understand it, please make revisions as you wish, is that the DDA board authorizes the DDA landscape committee to review and accept a bid for spring, summer maintenance of the Jackson Road Boulevard, including
Apologies.
fertilizer, mulch, herbicide, mowing,
Not to exceed
not to exceed
$70,000.
$70,000.
The first part is solicit competitive bids. and accept them.
Okay,
Just our-
solicit.
Any discussion on that?
Ryan, did you just
One
disappear again?
suggestion, because there are people in the office watching the meeting, was to have this a bulk contract with a not to exceed amount for services. That way, if we exceed on any one line item, it's not a big issue later. Okay, just a thought. Other than that, I don't really have.
We just put a not to exceed
We'll put not to exceed.
$70,000.
Not to
Right
exceed
here, recommended
70,000.
budget for 25-26 is
Yeah, we already did.
$87,000.
Yeah, then.
We
already heard it all,
I would
but-
support it.
Okay,
Okay, so I'm gonna read it one more time. The DDA board authorizes the DDA Landscape Committee to solicit competitive bids, review and accept a bid for spring, summer maintenance of Jackson Road Boulevard, including fertilizer, mulch, herbicide mowing, not to exceed $70,000.
I would support that.
Is that second?
and
Yes,
again,
I already got a second.
Already has second.
Sorry.
there's a second, and again, before we go to the vote, Linda, then I'm gonna ask you guys, we still doing mowing 12 as before?
I think you gotta, 12 sounds fine to me,
Okay, 12,
but if you get somebody who says I only need to do it 9 times and it's, less, then I say, go with it, right? I don't wanna buy, I wanna give you parameters, but not box you in,
fertilizing
as needed.
as needed. Here's,
So-
they do it 3 times a year. Should we do it once, twice, or 3 times? I don't think we should do 3 times. Twice, I agree with
Ask
you.
for twice on grass, once on trees and shrubs.
2 times in grass
Trees and shrubs should be done before June.
and trees and shrubs once.
Springtime.
My point on that, or my comment to that would be that some companies are gonna be great doing fertilizer and others are gonna be terrible at doing fertilizer. And so if you say, do the trees, and they're like, I don't know what to do with trees, but he wants me to quote it, I will. I would rather listen to your contractor and say, what are you good at? And he says, I can do 2 applications on the grass. I would take that instead of saying, forcing him to take the 3rd on the trees and then find somebody else to do the trees.
Okay. And we did talk about putting hardwood out there. And you wanna put hardwood around all the trees?
I said mulch, not wood chips. Do you want me to specify?
Okay, mulch where?
Well, in the motion, I said the word mulch. Do you want me to change it to
No,
wood chip?
no, it's fine with mulch. Okay,
Around the new trees. If there's money left over, we can address, the bed in front of Myers that was damaged during the winter by a car
mhm.
needs new mulch. It's the front door of the township. It's the very first bed you see. That one should be mulched.
Mhm. I would agree.
The rest of them are really not in bad shape.
Okay, and pesticide,
No.
Okay.
Herbicide, yes, pesticide, no. Do that.
oh, that's what we're gonna get, so therefore I'll shoot you, whatever they send me the next couple of days, I'm gonna send it over to every one of you to take a look at it, and before I say anything to anybody, I'll give it back,
Okay, we need to vote on this motion.
okay? Now,
Cash.
we're gonna, call the motion. All those in favor? Aye. Against?
We have to
We're
do voice vote.
spending money.
instead of-
Absolutely, yes.
So,
Linda,
yes, Smith.
Carrie,
yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Seth,
Alex.
Alex.
Yes.
and Gus, yes.
Is it Jeff?
Yes.
Yep, that was you.
You did.
Okay.
Motion carried.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay,
So just to be clear, you and Jennifer are going to make the decision.
yes.
Yes.
After I send it to all of you when I receive them, and I receive your comments back.
No, we can't do that because it's deliberation.
Open Meetings Act
Yeah.
violation.
So that's why the motion states that the landscape
I understand.
committee, which was
Understand.
you and Jennifer, would make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask you in private. Okay. Next item on the agenda, bills, the financial report.
All right, so apologies, these are on the online version of the agenda. I'll try to unify that next time. There's revenue and expenditure report dated as of the end of February. It's also the balance sheet, but I think the first item was the payment of bills. So the only bills that we have to pay at this point in time are related to a brownfield project from the County Brownfield Authority, for a project that Holmes Brewery has on Jackson Plaza. The total was $44,747.22. I would make the motion to approve to pay those bills. Township's already received the money. We're actually just acting as pass through. We don't
Yes.
lose any money or make any money. But the people did the work, so they hopefully should get paid.
Yep,
So this is the last one, we think? Do we know that
No.
projects, I thought that Brownfield was just about closed.
Apparently not. It appears that they have several $100,000 more potentially in their grant that they could use. I thought they were also. nearing
I
completion.
somehow thought that they were down to.
I also believe that to be true, but apparently, even though the business has been open for multiple years, they're still working through it.
So the payment's gonna be made to Jameson?
To
Development
Ann
Consulting?
Jameson and to Applied Environmental, who's done some of the work with additional subcontractors, but they distribute from there.
Okay, these invoices are outlined on the website agenda packet. And it appears that there are two of them. Applied Environmental, Jameson for the Brownfield, and then there's a third invoice for Ham Meadows and Associates.
Matthews and Associates is billing Applied Environmental. It's more backup to explain if you look at page 3. It'll show that Applied Environmental as the party that is receiving the bill.
Thank you.
It is confusing. If you've never seen this before, I'll readily admit that it's not the easiest invoice to read, plus I don't truly understand a lot of what they're doing, because a lot of it's very scientific related. But they do have detailed billing further down the document where it talks about how they're doing foundation footers, they're having meetings to figure out suction pits and design work, so I do believe they legitimately did the work.
you made a motion to pay the bill?
Yep.
Oh, I have one question. Decker Insurance, did we pay that? There was something that came to us.
I
We
think
did.
Decker got paid in January.
We did, but we
Okay.
need. Let's hear this motion.
You got a motion here.
Let's hear the motion and I'll explain.
Okay.
Okay, so Ryan has made a motion to pay the bills on the list of bills dated March 19 for $44,747.22, which is specifically pursuant to the Smooge Brownfield project pass through.
I'll second the motion.
Second.
Second by Jeff.
Voice vote.
Mhm.
Yes.
Would this be roll call?
Roll
Because
call
it's,
vote.
um,
Yes, I'm sorry, roll call. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's what I
Yep.
meant.
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Alex? Yep. Buster's yes. Motion carries. Anything else on the bills and financial report?
Quick thing on financial report, I guess Gus or anyone else, Bob, Donna and Will, all people no longer associated with the township, as well as Jennifer, are signers of the bank account. I need to get a second signer for the bank account. Open to options. The DDA could just make a motion really quick. I could work with Bank of Ann Arbor to get the other person onto our accounts. It could be you. You're already on the Comerica account.
I can go there.
Okay. So I make a motion to add, Chair Gus onto, our DDA bank accounts.
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded Thomas?
Yeah.
You?
Those in favor? Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. The next time, on the discussion topics, we said that we're gonna hire an attorney, we're looking to hire an attorney for the, all the issues that we talked about before, should we? He works for Dyke Magassa, the gentleman that I spoke to, Sam Kilberg. And he charges $495, basically $500 an hour. He does this for, that's, part of his business, DDAs. And he has, he can tell you which ones he works with. Should we, or we should go next? Should,
Guys, what was his name again?
Sam Kilberg,
Sam.
the K, yes, Samuel.
I think a lot of Dykema is a law firm. I don't know, Mr. Kilbert personally, but it seems like good recommendation to me.
It is a great recommendation. I use that law firm.
So do
Do we
I.
want to talk to a DDA that he's worked with? And go one step further, or do we have enough?
Good,
You have a large firm behind you with a lot of very talented people there.
yeah,
I do. My only question is his specific, as far as an extension of a DDA contract or DDA
DDA plan.
plan.
Do you know if he's in the Ann Arbor office or which office he works out of?
no.
Okay.
The east side office, whatever that is, Bloomfield, Detroit.
Bloomfield.
So would he be able to attend by Zoom or, because in person, he's going to charge us to travel?
I want to charge us. If he wants the job, he can come here and talk to us. Why would he charge us?
He'll charge
He'll
you
charge
travel
Yeah, it's gonna go up.
every minute, every email.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
All right, he does work out in Bloomfield Hills office, but I'm sure he looks to be a person who's judging by his education.
Do we want him to come here the next meeting or not?
I think it'd be great to talk to the guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I think he
Maybe we
should come
should
around,
interview.
he should come here and talk to us on our cost.
I think that we should probably provide him with an outline of what it is we want to ask him.
We should. We should have all the questions by then, if we need them answered. So we should,
So there's a two steps to this in my mind. One is to find out if we want to work with them, and then the second is when we're asking for answers to questions, I don't know how that plays into the attorney-client relationship and the Open Meetings Act, but I don't necessarily want a conversation about DDA legal matters to be, I think that should be confidential
After he's retained.
after it's
Yeah.
retained,
Um,
right?
but are there questions we have for him to retain him?
I'm sure there are, yeah, which would be appropriate to ask in
Jeff,
an open forum or whatever, yeah.
if we bring him here, what is the questions that we want to ask him?
I
We
think it's
can
more
ask
about
him, we can ask him right now, and he can send us an email, or he can send us a mail that says, yes, I did, because we're not gonna ask him anything specific, can you extend the life DDA, can you expand the area DDA, are you familiar with this, with that, all the questions, you can give us an answer and say yes, and one of the questions, which DDAs you work with, the Bloomfield or Royal Oak, okay, you have a contact name and number, we can call up there, find out if to do our due diligence. And then, then after we have all this information, we can make a decision if we want to hire him or not. That's the way I think we should go.
Understood and agree. I don't question that.
Instead of bringing him here and asking him what, we're gonna ask him the same, we're not gonna ask him any to do any work for us here, we're just gonna ask him, are you familiar with this? How about if he puts that on a letter and sends it to us, or an email?
Well, I think there's something with interviewing potential counsel to see if you want to work with them, to see if they want to work with us. Do they like the political climate in Scio Township and the political climate with the DDA, or do they
Right.
not? And find out whether they're compatible with us. And And then, if the answer to that is yes, and we retain him, then we could get into the
I would ask him,
legal questions.
I would definitely ask him to, if he can attend the next meeting and we have all the questions by then.
And I would be okay if he attended by Zoom. That,
Yeah.
Me too.
yeah,
Me too.
it's a long way.
Okay.
Maybe in the future, if we do hire him, he can, depending on the subject, we
Got
can
it.
have a close.
I will follow up with that and,
Okay.
keep you posted on it.
He will send a letter of engagement, at the point that we do decide to retain him.
If we do, yes.
If we do, and we need to be clear about who it should be sent to, so it just gets sent to the township, it will get lost. So in your discussions, I don't know if you want to specify that you're the point person as the DDA chair, or
Just gonna ask him a couple questions. One of the questions would be to join us here, and we can ask him whatever thing. He can join us or either here or on Zoom, and we can tell him we're sending engagement letter, et cetera. Because we might not hire him.
yes.
All right, nothing else for that. We'll move to new business.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
I think we said we would talk to you about new business, I think.
So chemical. Independent private business chemical review by the fire department,
Fire inspection.
fire inspection.
So, it's okay.
What?
Chief Sears, the DDA in their budget, capital improvement plan, and then also in the budget had set aside $100,000 for fire inspection fees, which would help businesses. However, trying to figure out how that money would be allocated, that's where we had the conversation kind of to bring you in to help us with that.
Right.
Figuring that out, because, yeah, you know how it works.
Sure, and so for those of you that don't know, as I've been in the last 2 years, and even prior to, Scio Township adopted a fee schedule based on fire inspections for commercial businesses. I believe that fee schedule is at 0.022 cents per square foot. I've kind of bounced this around in my head and trying to figure out, the ask of saying, how many square feet are you doing is all relevant on what buildings I'm inspecting and at the frequency in which I inspect them. In the last 2 years, there's been a hard grind to get through every commercial building in our jurisdiction at least once. Many of those opportunities have generated multiple inspections at no cost as a reinspection, as follow-ups to make sure that said businesses are doing what they're supposed to be doing to get up to code compliance. I know moving in the future, there's talk of us starting to do assembly occupancies at the annual level, opposed to where I believe we were trying to, I think where we're planning on going was every 3 years. Assembly occupancies would be, i.e. like restaurants, theaters, things that have general public assembly spaces inside. There are multiple communities outside of our jurisdiction that do that on the annual because they're more frequent and almost more life safety involved than it would be a business class, a storage facility or something of that nature. To come up with a plan to say, we want to give 100,000, but you need to come up with a formula on how you're going to utilize this for inspections. I think there's going to be a lot of variables involved. As we're getting new buildings involved, new square footage buildings, again, changing the frequency in which we're doing our inspections. The follow-ups, that is a portion of my job. That is not, I wouldn't even say it's 75%, maybe a little bit less. A lot of meetings here in the township hall doing site plans, concept uses, things with Carlisle Wortman in the township zoning. Now that we have a code enforcement officer, there's a lot of him and I working hand in hand to be able to enforce the things that we're trying to get done here in the township. But fire marshaling and fire inspections is one of the key responsibilities of my job. We're almost at that point to where we've hit every single building. And I believe we're at 800 to 900, somewhere around there, independent inspectable units here in Scio Township. one of the biggest kickbacks I do get from my inspection process is the fee schedule. Whether it's a lack of education that we did out in the community, or the business owners see it as a shock, as another bill or a cash grab. Hopefully I've done a very good job in trying to communicate with the business owners to let them understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. That I'm trying to work with them, and my intention is not to shut you down. And giving them extended and very gracious time periods to get these things fixed and remedied, so that they're better educated on what we want to see in the future from code enforcement, and to know that next time I do come around, here's some of the things that I'll be looking for them to better be prepared for these situations. This DDA donation towards the fire marshal thing, I think can be done. It's gonna be a joint opportunity to be able to talk about how we want to manipulate this process and how we want to design it. Again, going back to the concept of those businesses with the kickback, for me personally, as a fee schedule, it is one of the biggest hurdles I get into. You know, very few do I have to where I'm not allowed in the businesses. Just to let you know that we're working forward with those, because as a state licensed fire inspector, I do have the authority and jurisdiction to get into any commercial building with a warrant. So I don't like to get to that. You know, that's not what my job is, but I do have the authority to get into every building to make sure it's safe for not only the safety of the people inside, the safety for my department, and for the safety of their investment in their buildings. So I'm happy to be here, even, you know, in the first 2 years, even my interview process, you know, I'm very grateful for getting this opportunity. I think I've made a difference. There are a handful of you I've worked with, you know, over the years, and I hope we had a good positive experience. But just to know that it's for the safety, and that's really it. So life safety.
I appreciate your comments. However, what was the question that was asked to the chief? The question is, I don't even know what we asked that question. The question was, how much money do we bring in for the inspections on the boulevard, on the DDA district? And I believe that was about 87,000. Is that correct? The answer?
I don't know a number.
I believe that, right?
And I have this document that Terry, our the administrator over at the fire station, provided. 2022, the DDA district had 52,207.76. 2023, 64,117.48. And 2024 was 24,092.51.
So yearly inspections over 2 years.
Not every occupancy, Gus. That would just, right now, we're set up to do every 3 years.
Right.
And I'm talking about the whole township, you know,
Right.
and I know the DDA is broken off into sections. Assembly occupancies, all your restaurants up and down, your gas stations, Meyer, Lowe's, your big box stores, assembly occupancies, we want to start doing annually.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. So we have a budget of $100,000 we approved. So therefore, if we're under that, we should go ahead and pay for the inspections, correct?
But the question was how to do that, because the fire department contacts the company themselves. And the DDA is not a part of that transaction.
Sure, so as process goes right now, because we're starting from a new inspection policy program to get into everyone. Terry's going through the checklist of all the commercial buildings. And as we're gaining access, she's building a database. She knows square footages, contacts, and things like that. I know one of her challenges was to be able to find out every building inside the exact line of the DDA to be able to give that hard number. Now, with Mrs. Smith's comment, you know, if we're moving forward and say the year 2026 fictitiously, I inspect X amount of square footages that fall within the DDA, then we can come up with a price based on that 0.22 square foot, 0.022 cents per square foot. Yeah, truthfully, that would probably be the only formula.
Correct.
When we first started this conversation, I just want you all to know that's for the initial inspection. When I come to your business and we do the initial, that's where that fee schedule is. If I have to come back 2 or 3 times, there is not a fee schedule involved based on the policy, and that's okay. I just want everyone to know that it's not a one and done and my job. I'm back there multiple times.
understand. So
Two, no matter what.
Minimum.
No.
So I understand, so you inspect the building is 1,000 square feet and, Gus's building down the street and you say, okay, well, here's $220. What do? You tell me not to pay it because DDA is gonna pay it? That's the question, or
Sure.
how do we do it? This is the question that I have. You know, we need to figure that out because DDA hasn't, as it stands right now, from Ryan's point of view, we have the money to pay for all of them. So how do we do that? What do? You tell the customer, you know, the tenant, the owner of the building, you're not paying for it, we're gonna send the bill to DDA. What exactly? How do we handle it? That's what.
Could I make a suggestion?
Yes, that's a question I'd like to know.
What my suggestion would be is I could work with Terry, I could work with Rebecca, our finance manager. And I'm sure Chief Sears, the four of us could get together, or anybody else needs to get together internally. I think we can figure the answer to this out without having to do it
Okay.
at this board meeting, cause
That's
I
fine.
think those people involved would have.
But
Sure, go ahead.
at our last board meeting, I think one of the struggling or stumbling blocks we had was that Menards, Lowe's, Myers are in the DDA.
Yes.
And so if we're paying for companies in the DDA, we're paying for all companies or we're paying for no companies.
Pay for all of them. That's the way it is.
And like I said, looking at the reporting Terry was able to provide, I believe that we should not run into an issue, at least in the foreseeable future.
No.
Okay, so I'm still struggling according to the minutes of the January 13 meeting that fell off the adopted budget motion for the fiscal 25-26 year,
What fell off?
the $100,000. Well, is this the budget recommendation for this?
I believe it's still,
Now it's it.
Yeah.
is it in the budget itself?
It's on the adopted budget from the board,
Yes, it's still here.
but I can look at your.
But it's not in the notes from the minutes because we got into the weeds on it during the
Yeah,
January meeting.
and that's okay because the board has adopted this budget, which we had agreed on. Even the minutes are just a record of the meeting. It just may have got,
But the board also wants to eliminate $300,000 or so probably from our DDA.
With these notes seem to say.
well,
Correct?
well, we're not,
I know, but I'm just
It's not
saying, I mean.
yeah, but they have adopted this budget for approved the budget for the DDA. So whatever is adopted at this point, we have the money, right?
Is that all you have?
Yes.
I do have one more comment,
Sure,
like,
yes.
attention to the board for. Moving forward in this process, know that when, the process for me is when Terry notifies the business, this could be an avenue in which notification is done. If we notify, that's to say your restaurant is gonna get inspected. We email out not only a chemical survey, but we also email out a letter saying the township has adopted. That would be a place to where you could say, because you fall into said DDA land zone, you were exempt from a fee schedule. It's a way to be able to notify those businesses that there's not, and then anybody that falls outside of that. So as long as we can work together in finding a hard definitive line of properties, because BSNA is a little foggy based on your mappages, that we could fine tune that. Anybody outside of that would be responsible for that 0.0.
I will honestly say, I worked with him last year on this and it was very, very easy. I think we had no issue we had a few issues. He came back for a second inspection, everything was all done.
Yeah.
But the communication from Scio to business owner which is myself, it was pretty flawless.
Thank you.
It was.
That's really good. The question, I agree with what you're saying. But we need to tally that. We need to keep a tally on
Yeah,
it.
and
That's a challenging part of.
Sure.
For us.
And I'll be working with my admin
Yeah.
and my jobs, my calendar schedules and things, but
Yeah.
I definitely think it's
And, you know,
doable, Gus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be-
And then-
we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for working with us.
Yeah.
Just to be clear,
Yeah.
this would not, so if they are not compliant after the first or second, then we're not paying for the violations. Right? I mean, because if you have to keep going back and you.
Oh, that's
Well,
something,
that-
policy,
that's
right?
something in my
That's
job.
ours. That's ours.
That's on me. For me to go back and do re-inspections, I have the ability through the township's policies to issue fees for re-inspections after number 2. I have not very rarely have I gotten to that level, but that's after 4 attempts.
Right,
So-
but the fines that are not, the fines on the owners is not it's not on the DDA.
And neither is the re-inspections after the second,
Absolutely,
after the second
time.
one.
Yeah, I think the DDA would fall into the initial inspection process.
Absolutely.
itself.
Great.
And I think that would be a benefit.
Thank you very much, very good job.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good working with you.
Yeah, goodbye.
Okay. So, we'll work together how to do that. I'll keep tally and all that, and as long as it's under 100,000.
Would you like, to create or to approve the committee, I guess, or would this be a committee or?
I don't know, if really be a committee. I think that we have plenty of time by the time that comes up again. I think we need to sit down and talk about it, and once we talk about it, we can present the next time our ideas and create a committee. I don't think that we should start with a committee right now. I'm gonna move on to new business. I have an idea on the boulevard, since our job is to really showcase this township of the boulevard. How do you guys feel about putting the lights on the boulevard? Putting the light poles on the middle of the boulevard and such a poles that would have a way you can put Christmas decorations and other things on it as the seasons go along.
How are you gonna get the electric there, Gus?
How
How are you gonna get the electric out there? How are you gonna get the feed?
everything is possible.
Well, what if they're solar?
Nothing is impossible. If we really want to see that, I think it'd be real beautiful. That'd be, seasonal, you can, showcase with the light on the middle, and you can hang a flag or you can hang Christmas decorations from it. We can, if you want me to, I'll explore the idea at no cost to what is it gonna cost to, bore all the electric all the way down there. From, I use Suburban Electric, which they've always been really good to me, and they're a very good company, so I can ask them to do a budget, just out of curiosity. Do you folks like to see that?
I think seeing a budget,
I'd
I'd
like
be
to see
curious,
it.
design
Yeah.
concepts,
Curious.
yeah.
And then.
Pretty dark down there.
Then we can, then I get a price from somebody per pole, how much does it cost per pole, and we can figure out if we're gonna do 5 poles or 50 poles or 1,000 poles, and put a nice light, whichever we pick, or globes or whatever, and you can have some decoration on it where you can hang things like you see in other townships and other downtowns. I think it will really blow up this, the boulevard. It will really make it showcase it
On every,
all the way 4 miles.
oh, okay.
I don't know if it's 50 feet.
I don't know, that's up for the
Well,
engineers and all that.
Yeah, they tell you.
Yeah, they'll tell me, that's not my job. So,
Yeah, I
I'll
think
look
it's
into
great.
that, Anything under all business?
We need to go through this document.
I'm
The
happy
document,
to-
the document that you just brought is the budget report for Scio Township.
This is the adopted budget. of
This is
DDA.
this is the budget that the Board of Trustees is approving the DDA to use.
For
Not,
us to use.
but not the budget that we adopted. They've amended it.
They amended it.
The consultant, the consultant fee for the attorney is gone. It was not approved. We
So
don't
what-
have, we have no money approved.
So how we gonna find any money for the attorney?
Well, I don't know. So, I'm looking at this,
Well,
this page, on the first page, online.
Somebody go through item per item on the page, right?
Yes, so here's the items that changed, and I think we do.
no legal fees in here.
How about if you go at the
Not legal
beginning, you
fees,
got
it's just
current
that.
income, 2,098,000. Is that the income of the DDA?
Correct.
Okay,
So I'm gonna skip past the items that did not change from what we proposed, just in interest of
okay,
expeditiousness. The first item that changed was consultant fees, which is about 2/3 of the way down the page.
I see that, beginning of the blue.
Yes, beginning of the blue, that was changed down to 0, so the Board of Trustees removed the pedestrian and sewer study. And they also removed the DDA, it says denied extension of DDA life, so.
So wait, to be clear, that was the pedestrian study for the Zeb Road Bridge. Or I'm sorry, the Jackson Road pedestrian crossing, and the consultant for extending the life of the DDA.
Page 4 and
So
page 5.
not only the
Yeah, right
bridge,
here.
but it's also,
So-
we talked about,
We didn't have
The
this
sewer
document
study.
until this meeting.
I understand.
Then you cut $300,000 out.
Correct.
Well, so we have no budget to have the attorney come. No, we have $10,000 for legal fees, but we're not talking about legal fees. We were
We're talking
talking
about the
about
consulting fees.
hiring a consultant, an attorney as a consultant.
That's, I don't remember the attorney part of it, being the
Well, A
consultant.
consultant, but in this case, what Gus was proposing was that the consultant is an attorney.
Well, by statute, the DDA can hire an attorney.
But we don't have any
We
budget.
don't have no budget
Well,
for
we
it.
do, we have $10,000, but we can also amend the budget and present it to
So-
the board.
For me, I guess I don't understand that we adopted a budget and then the board of directors line item took some things out, the board of trustees line item took some things out. I don't quite understand how.
Without a
that-
discussion.
Correct.
Because the township board is the administration of the township, all of the township. And it states in the statute for the, what's it called?
I understand, but this is the budget for the DDA, this is our money, how can the township do that? Is that on the scope that the township can, even though it falls on our money, the township can tell us, tie our hands basically of what to do in DDA? What's the point of having a DDA board then?
Well, this is why we need to have an attorney for the DDA, which we can by statute. So under the Recodified Tax Increment Finance Act, Act 57 of 2018, Part 2, Downtown Development Authority. Everybody on this authority needs to read this, but we also need to have an attorney that is versed in this statute and DDA for them to consult for us. But it does state that the township board is the administration of the township, and we have that authority, and then.
Jillian,
in
with
here-
due
I
respect.
know, yes, but Gus, I'm still speaking. Thank you. So in here, it states that the budget for the DDA goes to the township board for the township board to approve, and as well as amendments. That's why we need to have an attorney to review this and to guide us on the DDA. And what we can and cannot
But
do.
they're taking the money away from the consultant fees that we had and gave us legal fees of $10,000 at $500 an hour is not gonna give us enough time with an attorney.
We'll say hello.
Well, we
And
can,
that's about it.
but what we could do is still follow through with the attorney, how much it's going to be, then we can have an amendment to go to the board for the board to approve.
If we wanna, you,
You don't have money to explore consulting fees
No.
for your lights down the boulevard right now.
nothing, there's
You-
nothing.
That just was pulled off the table. It's a moot point now.
You're saying legal fees is 10,000, the ground maintenance, we're talking about 70,000, there's 63,000 here for the ground maintenance. How do you guys come up with all these budgets and all these numbers, and why is the township taking all the things out, removing all the things out of the budget where there's no consequence for the township?
I believe that
What is the reason?
since we have not, and I don't know, but I'm assuming that Sandy had done the budget for the DDA going back and that the DDA did not create their own budgets? How did that work, Ryan? Were you around?
So without.
Or did you?
I don't necessarily want to revisit that piece of history, at least at this meeting. Here's what I'll proffer up, because when I'm looking at the meeting minutes and remembering back to the meeting, because this is about 2.5 hours into that meeting, after being here from 8 to 4 that day, and being here at 6:30 at night or so. Looking back at the meeting minutes, here's what the conclusion was and why these decisions were made, to answer your point, Gus. The first answer was to remove the pedestrian sewer study, specifically because the DDA could request it again as a budget amendment, but the board wanted to see, some more steps into the plan. They weren't saying no, they just were saying, hey, okay, there was a pedestrian bridge plan. I think you were, one of you guys were on the board when the last one happened from OHM several years ago. What lessons have we learned? What other things could we do differently? What is our options? We've heard some pieces of it, but let's look at all of our options and then come back with a couple more pieces of
It's a
information.
bit of a conundrum, right?
I know.
So they want us to have a plan.
Before we have authorization to spend money to come up with a
Right.
plan. I understand that.
Just panning out. I don't know exactly how the budget was done in the past. I do know that we had budget autonomy and that we had a top line, and then we had expenses, and then we had a bottom line. And so one of the things that we would look at on a regular basis is how much money do we have left and how should we invest that? We had conversations about, we could just turn into a piggy bank for the township to supplement the general fund. Or we could do something special like the DDA has done in the past, the boulevard being the biggest one. The whole reason the TIF is in place is so that there is revenue to help incentivize businesses in this area. The whole reason we wanted to do a sewer study was because the sewer is gonna be a choke point for development of the boulevard. And we said, okay, that's something where the township's probably not gonna spend 300 grand on that. But we can do a big study and find out how to do it, so we authorized to do it. Same thing with the bridge.
Sure.
The continuation of the DDA, we could just let the DDA die. And then that goes away. That money goes away, the TIF goes away, the township doesn't have it, the DDA doesn't have it. That makes no sense. But now they've taken away, seemingly, significant parts of what we had allocated. We had never gone through that process that we went through very quickly in that one meeting saying how much. Well, we did that in good faith and we presented it and then it wasn't approved without any sort of explanation. And so the idea that we just need to, become more familiar, and I totally agree with you, more familiar with the statutory requirements, I agree with that. But this
But the-
taking away of things right now
They're
is we're
taking away
trying
the,
to implement just as,
they're taking away the funds, first of all, they're shrinking the funds. And then they're telling us you can't do none of the above. You can't have a
Exactly.
study for this, you can't have this, you can't, I don't understand. It sounds to me like, when I look at this budget, they don't want us to exist. Or they want,
except they passed a $700,000 deficit budget.
correct.
Okay, here, let me, okay. So part of the issue is that the township has gone through a lot of change. We have a new board, we have, our DDA, the way that things have been done in the past, at the time, however that happened, I don't know, I've only sat in or watched a couple of DDA meetings. And now we have a board that is looking at everything. So, and not only that, when the DDA was implemented, it was under a different statute. The state had changed, had recodified the statute. So that could be part of it. And when we did this budget together, it was kind of, with this new board, we threw it together. Then we have this, the township board.
But let's understand one thing at a time. You said different statute. When did it change?
When did it change?
When did it change?
2018.
What did it change from that statute, this statute? What did it change?
I didn't read the previous statute because the statute we have now is the one that gives us the authority.
Gives the board the authority, and that was the Ricotta Act 57, 2018 that you just referred to.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is, I don't believe. Do you remember, well, going through the budget process, like you said, Jeff, so that was different than what is happening or what has happened with,
sure.
for sure, okay. Now, the board, so whatever was in the budget last year is similar to what's here, because we gave them a list of what we wanted to do through the CIP. They removed a lot of that and then put together here for the budget that is in place. Budgets are fluid, they can change. So we can create a plan, we need an attorney, we've talked about that, we've already decided on something. And however much, when that comes back, then we just go to the board asking for an amendment.
So to me, it's unclear, and I apologize because I have to go because I've got a 2 o'clock meeting back in my office, but it's unclear to me. And when I say it's unclear, I mean that sincerely. I just don't know. But in a real simplistic way of looking at it, the DDA receives money from the TIF,
Mhm,
and the DDA has a certain amount of money.
mhm.
And then it has guidelines on how it can be spent. And then if there's if there's revenue at the end of that, then that rolls into the DDA's fund to be used in the future. I don't know where this idea that the Board of Trustees can come in and say, well, the way you were planning to spend your money, you can't. Because my simplistic way of understanding is that it's not the township's money, it's the DDA's. They're two different entities. And I know that they're enmeshed, and I don't know exactly how, but this idea that TIF revenue that is supposed to go into the DDA area, which is precisely what we discussed when we put that budget together in good faith. All of it was supposed to go into the DDA area, and now it's been removed. I don't get that. So if it's just a line item that's been removed, and that means that the bottom line at the end is gonna be bigger, we've got more excess revenue, that's great. It's not really what we're here for, to save money. We're here to invest money in the township. So I'm
bonds.
confused.
The reason why the DDA was created is because of the sewer and the boulevard.
Well, so that was the revenue that came in from the DDA provided enough cash to service the bonds that funded that. So, and we still need to service the debt for sure.
Yes.
But we have money after servicing the debt to be reinvested into it. And I see no reason why we can't use that. This is what we've talked about in the past. Use that to do really cool things for the boulevard because we've got a different mechanism. It's not just a piggy bank for the township if they decide they want to put in a fancy HVAC system to get
Well,
the
that's,
DDA to fund it.
no, their DDA isn't funding that. I'm just
Okay.
saying that they, with their budget, that they have done that.
Okay.
So
I
this is just the DDA budget.
So again, I don't understand why.
So how about if everybody reads, I mean, it's kind of tedious.
Right?
Really quick, cause I know you have to leave and should probably wrap up the meeting, cause it's approaching 2 hours. I would say the following, I think there is opportunity for this to come back. I think that there was some confusion being.
It was not included in the agenda and it was not something that any of us had seen until this meeting.
And it wasn't something I brought up or Jillian brought up for the record. I don't remember exactly who, it doesn't say who.
No,
There was
I
no
did not
motion,
bring that
there
up.
was no motion made.
How was eliminated there without a motion there?
It was eliminated by consensus apparently, which.
Yeah. As a whole budget, that's what
As a
we voted
whole.
on.
Somebody had to look at it, somebody had to point it out.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll go back and watch the video and get you an answer. But to answer your question about the DEA and the township's relationship.
Yeah.
Think of it like a division with like, General Motors owns,
Subsidiary.
all the subsidiaries.
Yep.
We are a subsidiary of the township, so for better or for worse, we are truly
Well, it's
part of the whole.
understood, and it's for better, right?
Yeah.
We're here we've got the same mission.
Yeah, we do.
I don't disagree with that. But that subsidiary who has P&L responsibility doesn't want the parent to come in and emasculate what they're trying to do.
I agree.
And it might not be legal.
Correct. That's
It's not
the,
that they don't want that to
it
happen.
might not be legal.
very good point.
so could everybody read Act 57 of 2018, please? At least this is a good start, so we can, I know we're not attorneys, but we'll get an idea. And then the attorney that you have in mind, let's start with that.
I'm not
We
bringing
haven't
them in,
retained them.
I'm not bringing them in, we have no money.
Well, we
I'm not,
do,
I'm
but
not
we
putting my
have
foot.
money.
I'm not-
100%.
No, no,
I
I'm not
apologize. I
putting-
gotta go.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
I'm not putting my
Wait,
foot in
do
my
we-
mouth, Jillian.
Okay, then
No.
we're just gonna what? Do what?
Do we have enough people to vote to end the meeting? If Jeff leaves?
4, 5, 6, yeah, we do.
Yes, we
Isn't
do.
there
All right,
public
you can go,
comment?
Jeff. Thanks.
Yeah.
Is there another public comment?
Yeah,
No,
There's not.
I think that at this point, we're in a standstill, because, we're being, our hands are being tied on anything, so we're.
well, let's, to Jillian's point, if we have our existing retained attorney review Act 57, and we all review Act 57, The attorney can write, the attorney can write an opinion on behalf of the DDA, but where does that go?
Well, it goes to the board and well, we need to be clear first and then it goes to the board, but Sweeney does not have a background with DDA. That's the issue. And
I
I
don't know
gave
that
him,
that's the
I
case.
remember giving
Say
him
that
a
again.
list of
I
questions.
don't know that that's the case one way or the other. I don't.
It is, he admitted it. Or he had shared that. I don't want to say admitted, like we didn't put him on a stand, but. Well, the thing I know is, from my point of view, I want to keep the DDA, and I've said that many times. But we're gonna have to figure out what it is that the DDA, the benefits of the DDA, what we want to do as a plan, and then we have to get clear on what we can and cannot do. And the only way we're gonna do that is have an attorney or even,
Who's we, the township or the DDA?
The
Because the
DDA.
DDA has the bylaws, we know what we need to do. We have our bylaws and we know our job. We follow the bylaws. It sounds like the township
no, we
doesn't
need
want
to
the
follow the
DDA to exist.
statute. The bylaws were created before this updated statute. The statute is the state law that we have to follow.
Let's stay low, we have to follow. Can somebody enlighten me on that? Somebody can
just-
copy
it-
of it?
We need to read the statute, but the difficulty I'm having is that if as a member of the DDA, you don't feel that the existing attorney that we have for the DDA is going to be the strongest person to review the statute and make an opinion. The DDA needs to try and retain another attorney to make an opinion about this, I guess, to send to the Board of Trustees with our request for additional funding, saying that we.
Well, not with additional funding, because we can make a request for additional funding for legal, for attorney, because by statute, we can hire an attorney.
Could I throw out maybe an easier suggestion? I think that, we obviously went through this version of the budget process for the first time. And in the interest of trying to, move things forward without having, I guess, a version of lawfare with the township. And just having attorneys fire back and forth and spending a bunch of money on things. I'd be willing to take a stab at coming up with a proposal of, why the DDA is important and why the DDA should, be extended and see if we could have a collaborative presentation to the board and see if we can get the board to just fund the request, even if they fund it. If they give us 50,000 instead of 100,000 to start, that's $50,000, which should at least get us started. I'm just thinking of a way to compromise and move us forward instead of fighting with attorneys, which probably isn't gonna get us very
Well, we're
far.
not gonna
I
be.
think you have a
Yeah,
township that
fighting.
has a deficit that they see numbers on here that they're pulling money from.
Well,
They're not legally allowed.
the fact is that we don't have any funding available to us to investigate that for an entire
We
year.
I
do.
can tell you dealing with
We have-
that.
We have funding we have money in our funds. It's a matter of
Requesting it from the township as an amendment to our. budget.
amendment to our budget. That's all it is.
One question.
Yeah,
If we're going to the township that already removed this from our initial budget, what do we assess the likelihood would be of them approving an amendment to the budget to reinstate?
They did not remove attorney fees. They removed the consultant to extend the life of the DDA.
I think if we make, that was sort of where I was going with this,
Mhm.
I was gonna try and make a cogent argument, something very specific, saying, this is what the benefit of the DDA is. I get there's discussions.
Why don't we ask
about-
Sweeney, since he's
Yeah,
there,
Let me try and reach out.
why don't we ask him? Can you give me that act, have him to read that, and let's ask him the questions. Let him write,
Or ask him for a recommendation.
right,
I think that we need to make a presentation, we need to plan to make a presentation to the board to request additional funding. It wasn't our intention to state whether a consultant for the extension of the DDA was a private citizen or someone holding a law degree. We just used the word consultant.
Right.
So if we're going in front of the board, I think that it would be very helpful if Ryan comes up with, reasons that the DDA should exist. Specific, because I'm not sure that the board understands about the capture and the fact that it will go away. If
Oh, they
it-
do.
Lose all that
They
money.
understand that.
I'm pretty sure.
It seems, intuitive, but
Yeah.
you know, just
Okay.
if we're stating facts and say that we're trying to extend the DDA, Ryan, because I think you know, our bond extends through what date and the DDA expires at what date? We don't have an overlap problem
Well,
with that.
wait a minute.
2020.
Yeah, but just because the bond is paid off at that time doesn't mean the DDA automatically just disappears.
I think the DDA disappears before the bonds can.
It disappears.
No, no, it can't, because as long as we have bonds, the DDA we have to have the DDA. However, when the bonds are paid off, doesn't mean that the DDA has to disappear. We can continue
No,
that.
I understand that, but, and I may be incorrect, but in my memory, the DDA does not extend as long as the bonds do. I think that our expiration of the DDA occurs before the bond.
It
expires.
can't.
I'm
The
not sure.
expiration DDA is 2028.
Well, that's when the bond ends,
I don't know when the bond ends, but.
2028.
Okay, then expiration is the same time.
But is it January 1 of
Oh,
2028 or
that's-
is it
yeah,
June
that's-
of 2028? This was my point. There's a, yes, you're correct. They wouldn't have allowed us to take the bond if the DDA was expired.
Okay.
We need to create a,
then you state act, we got it.
I have it.
This is why we need an attorney to get,
It's a state of
to provide
Michigan
us with the information, because we all have these questions and we have,
Act 57.
yeah, it's the
Two.
Recodified Tax Increment Financing Act. Act 57 of 2018, Part 2, Downtown Development Authorities.
Put this into a search engine.
All right.
All right, so we need to add that to next meeting.
Okay.
And we had a discussion about and made a motion to do landscaping, which still appears to be.
It's
No.
above,
Well, we now, our $150,000 that we had put in as just,
we have 63,000
Landscaping.
landscape.
yeah, they gave us 63,000 for grounds maintenance. We just approved $70,000 for grounds
But
maintenance.
Gus, we're gonna have to, with everything that we asked for, and if they come back and say it's 70,000, then we just have an amendment and go to the board, because the board wants us to take care of the maintenance of the boulevard. We know that for sure. But
So we have an amendment for that, we have an amendment for all the money that they took out, for the money that we need to do the studies, et cetera, or?
amendment for the landscape, go out for bid or whatever you and Jennifer have been
How
assigned.
about if we amend everything, how about if we ask for everything
Because
else?
they have already rejected that, that's why. If we go back and say, we're asking again for this without having a plan or anything, then they're gonna just continue to reject it.
Just to be clear, so we made a motion for the landscape committee to go out and look at bids up not to exceed $70,000. We would have to make a plan, go in front of the board at a scheduled board meeting and have them approve a number in excess of $63,000 in order for us to sign that contract with that contractor.
Yeah, and we could
Which is going to take at least 3 weeks because we don't have the quotes yet, and then we've got to get in front of.
We
the
don't,
board.
you don't know if that's 70.
To clarify, there's two line items on near the bottom.
One of them says landscaping, one of them says
Says
ground
grounds
maintenance.
maintenance. I feel, and I can validate this, I feel that we could split between the two buckets. Personal opinion.
Where's the other one? Sorry.
We have landscaping,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
825, and then we have grounds maintenance, 932.
I could split between the buckets when I enter into the purchase order software.
All right, well then,
How much you have?
Unless I get yelled at.
What am I missing? You have, you said you have ground maintenance,
And then 2 or 3 lines up landscaping, 87.
Yeah, so we have plenty.
We have 150 total. I think that's enough.
they took our $150,000 and they split
Is
it.
there a reason for that distinction?
I think that when somebody, I don't know who, I'm not
Okay.
making assumptions, somebody just took the previous contract from KBK and continued it over for 63.
Sure.
I think it was just data entry.
yeah. The problem with the $87,000 was for him to plant the new trees or remove the old ones. That's the number they were using. You see, they can't use that number. That was
Right.
for maintenance.
Yeah.
That's the one the team was giving, because we have two of them. We have one for the bush and one for the trees. So what they did is they took their own stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so, I don't, 63 could be enough. I don't know these people. I
They'll
don't
at
do
least
this.
get
for a
it,
living.
they'll at least get us
Right.
started.
We have an idea. I will speak to you.
Yeah.
I will
we can
speak to
get
you
together.
because I do speak to
Yep.
you all the time,
Yeah,
so
of
I'll
course.
speak to you soon about what they're gonna give.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that motion can
Okay.
stand and we don't need to make
It
it.
still stands, I guess we leave it alone. So,
All right,
anything
so,
else?
Uh,
Because this meeting, I like the meetings to go over, not to go over an hour, but this one with too much, that will never happen again.
all right.
We're gonna try to keep them down to an hour, so meeting, the motion to adjourn,
but I have one more question.
yes,
So we've done a spring cleanup every spring with DDA
we have,
a number of years. Typically, we do it before the first mowing. The first mowing will occur before May 12th.
right,
Do we want to post anything? I don't know who the list was for people that were contacted for volunteering to come out for the.
I don't either.
On a Saturday.
We could certainly ask Bob if he's willing to give us a list. And the other thing we could do is we could reach out to Mary Gillis, who was here for just a little while, and ask her to post it on Nextdoor and the township
I
website.
believe that was how we did it. But we need to choose a date. I am not here the weekend of the 5th of April. I don't care. I'm trying to.
are we going to do that? Do we need to do that? If it's clean?
There is probably 10 trash bags of cups,
Okay,
plastic mess that will get hit by the lawnmower and explode into 1,000 pieces when they mow the 4 miles. What we've done before is paired people
I
up
was,
and
I
split.
was never a part of the clean, we clean the center of the boulevard
Yes,
or
yes.
left and right?
Typically, we do the center.
We do the center.
The left and right is private property
so-
in most cases.
I understand, so if the guys do a spring cleanup, we authorize spring cleanup to pick it all up, is there a reason for us to do that?
No,
No.
Okay, so I'll make sure they take care of that,
okay.
I'll make sure it's spotless.
I just want to make sure that we don't have
I'll
styrofoam.
make sure,
cups.
I'll make sure it's spotless, motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned,
At
second,
Third,
53.
153. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
I need a second.
Support,
Gamble?
yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
3153.
Welcome on board,
Welcome aboard.
hopefully we're, hopefully